Okay, this is geometry periodic. This recording will have chapter 4.5 to 4.8. I think, yeah. Uh, this is 4.5. It's about the sine, tan, cosine, and this stuff. The first question, this is the equation for a sine graph. Okay, the sine graph is always y equals a sine bx, where a is the height of the graph, and b would be the period of the graph, the period. Okay, and I have two methods for solving. Uh, if you want to find a and b, a would be the height, or you could say highest point. Okay, uh, one way to solve it is you take the highest minus lowest divided by 2. Taking the highest point will work maybe 90% of the time, but sometimes, and I think one of the questions in this quiz actually, this method doesn't work of just taking the highest point. So you have to do the highest minus lowest divided by 2. So for example here, in this graph, taking the highest point will work, because this graph goes up, down. Okay, the highest point and the lowest point, they're the same number. And here you have -4, you have 4. So it's fine, you can just take the height, which is 4. So A will be 4. 4 sine, and we need to find bx, right? The b. So now we say we know it's 4 sine, and we need bx. How do you find b? B equals always 360 divided by period. Okay, how do you find what the period is? The sine graph starts like this. Okay, the sine goes up, goes down, and then comes back up like this. This is one period. Okay, so look at the period. Our sine graph goes up, down, and back up. That's one period. So the period in this case is going to be 180 degrees, because it repeats itself every 180 degrees, so from 0 to 180. And then again over here, it starts another one, goes up, goes down, between 180 and 360. So this is 180 over here, 180 over here. So the period in this case will be 180 degrees. Okay, so it will be b is 360 divided by 180. So b is 2. Okay, so it will be 4 sine 2x. This is how you find a, how you find b. Okay, question 2. The graph of y equals 8 minus 4 sine x is the same of that equals 4 sine x reflected in the x-axis and shift 18. So, okay, well, you have 8 minus 4 sine x, yeah? 8 minus 4 sine x, and you have 4 sine x. Okay, these are two graphs. أول شيء, they're saying reflected. Okay, remember when we used to have the quadratic form, the quadratic graphs, the quadratic a x minus h squared plus k, this graph, yeah, the quadratic graph, the parabolas. Okay, remember when you had مثلا minus 2x squared, it would flip the whole graph upside down, it would become like this. Okay, the same thing here. Whenever, well, let me make this a bit bigger. Whenever you have minus as the coefficient of like the sign, that means it flips it upside down. So let's say this is the graph, it becomes now, instead of going up, it starts going down first, and it goes up. This is what minus sine x looks like. When you have a minus beside it, you're reflecting it about the x-axis. Reflecting about the x-axis means you're flipping it upside down. So this minus 4 sine x means you're reflecting it on the x-axis. Then the shift. Okay, it's minus 4 sine x, and we had 8 here, right? This 8 is a plus 8, right? It's plus 8. You remember when we used to have x squared and then plus 2? It would be the graph of x squared, but you take it up by 2 units. So it would be like this, right? So whenever you have yani, plus 8 beside it, or like, even they didn't plus 8 because yani, it's the first number, but it's a positive 8. So that means you're adding 8. So it's going up 8 units. So it's going to be like this. It's going to start up 8 units. It's going to start going down, then going up and back like this. Okay, this is what minus 4 sine x plus 8 looks like. It's flipped upside down and 8 units up. Okay, that's how you do it. Okay, again here, they want the equation minus something sine 2x. Okay, same rule, y equals a sine bx. Okay, you're going to tell me, okay, you said a is the height, which in this case is 4, right? 4 and -4. طب why is the answer -4 if we said it's the highest point, which is 4? Okay, طب انت you should use your logic, okay? نحن the sine graph usually starts going up then goes down and comes back normally. But in this case, it starts going down, then comes back up. Okay, so obviously we flipped it upside down, so it should be negative. Okay, if it starts going down, if your graph starts going down, then it should be negative 4. Okay, بس إذا عادك it's بلشت هيك, it goes up then starts coming down, then this would be normal positive coefficient. But since now we started going down and up, فيعني you have to have a negative coefficient, which will be negative 4 sine 2x. How do we find b? فنحن قلنا negative 4 sine bx. نفس الشيء ال b is always 360 over period. Okay, 360 divided by the period. In this case, the period starts going down, then goes up, then comes back down. This complete rotation took us 180 degrees. Again, from it starts going down, then goes up, then back down. Again, 180 degrees. For every period, in this case, is 180 degrees. For 360 divided by 180, you get 2. It will be minus 4 sine 2x. Okay, same like question 1. It's the same thing, تقريبا, except this one is flipped upside down. Question 4. The equation for the graph, okay, is 1 minus 3 sine x. So this is the one where I told you it won't work to just take the highest point. What I advise you, if you want to be safe, 100% كل مرة تزبط, to find A, you do highest minus lowest over 2. Okay, so in this case the highest point is 4, the lowest point is minus 2. So the highest point will be 4 minus the lowest point, which is minus 2, divided by 2, which is 6 over 2, which is 3. And in this case, it is 3. But why they put it negative? Because it started going down, right? Well, if it starts going down, معناتها it's negative. فنيجاتيف 3 is the coefficient of sine x. طيب, in this case, the period is complete 360 degrees. So there's no need to put b. In this case, they're not asking for b. طيب, this shift, okay, this is plus 1, right? Okay, 3 is our coefficient to sine x. So logically, if you have 3 sine x, so minus 3 sine x, it should be looking like this, right? It should be minus 3 over here and 3 over here, because we have minus 3 as a coefficient. But in this case, what's happening? In this case, we have 4 as our highest point and minus 2 as our lowest point. Okay, bear with me here. It's supposed to be 3 and negative 3. What happened? This 3 to go to 4, right? It was supposed to be 3. What changed? It went up to 4 by 1 unit. So it's plus 1. And if you can check, the lowest point is supposed to be negative 3. What's the lowest point? Negative 2. So it went up plus 1. In this case, plus 1. For that means you're shifting the whole graph up by plus 1. If you get what I'm trying to say, Yani. So always, if in this case, if your graph has unequal or uneven highest and lowest points, and they're not the same number, then check what is it supposed to be. It's supposed to be 3 as your highest point, but it's 4. What changed? How to go from 3 to 4? Plus 1 for plus 1. Okay, this time it's a cosine graph. Still the same rules. Y equals a cosine bx. Same rules apply. To find a, it will be highest minus lowest over 2. But yani, to save you time, if the highest and lowest point both are the same number, yani 6 and negative 6, they're both 6's. Okay, it will obviously be 6, right? Okay, because 6 minus 6 is 12, divided by 2 is 6. And to save you time, if it's the same number, just take the number. Or to find b, it's going to be 360 divided by period. Or in this case, our period is cosine graph is different than sine graph. Cosine graph doesn't start from here and go up and down. No, cosine graph is different. Cosine graph actually starts from the top, then goes down and comes back up like this. Okay, this is a cosine graph. So you have to see how many times it's repeated. It starts from here at the top, goes down, then a full rotation would be it returning back to the top. صح? How long is this period? From 0 to 180. So the period is 180. And again, it goes down from 180, then comes back up, completes a full rotation, and ends at 360. From 180 to 360, that's another 180 degrees. So each period is 180. So it's going to be 360 divided by 180, which is 2. So it's going to be 6 cosine 2x. When will it be negative 6? Negative 6 if the graph starts from the bottom, like this. This is a negative cosine graph. Okay, this is a negative cosine graph. It starts from the bottom, but here it's following the rule of cosine, which is going starting from the top, then going back down and coming back up. That's following the rule, so it's positive. Okay. Question 6. The graph of y equals 3 tan x. Okay, so basically for the tan function in my opinion is it's different. It's a bit trickier than the other functions, sine and cosine, because the thing is with the tan function, it has an asymptote, and the asymptote for the tan function of tan x, yani tan x, it's every 180 degrees. Okay, every 180 degrees. Okay, but if you had مثلا tan bx, the asymptote will be every 180 divided by b. And for example, every let's say the graph tan 2x, where b is 2, the asymptote will be every 180 over 2 every 90 degrees. Okay, so understand that the tan function always has an asymptote. It has an asymptote. If you guys don't remember what an asymptote is where yani, the graph cannot cross. So let's say there's an asymptote over here, the graph will stop over here. It won't continue, it will skip through it and just continue afterwards. Okay, that's what an asymptote is. The tan function, the normal tan x function, has an asymptote every 180 degrees. But in case they ask you in the exam, which I doubt they will, yani tan bx, let's say they said tan 3x, then the asymptote will be 180 divided by 3, so every 60 degrees. In this case, it's just tan x, so we're just going to say every 180 degrees. But since this coordinate plane is in pi, it's in radians, it's not in degrees, I'm going to make life easier for you. Okay? The tan function, granted it has an asymptote which repeats itself every 180 degrees. Okay, repeats itself starting from where? Some of you will say, okay, starting from 0, because that makes sense. But no, it starts, the first asymptote is at 90 degrees, and the second asymptote is at negative 90 degrees. So if I were to show you on a graph, how would the tan function look like? This would be tan x. Okay, you'd have, here's the point, here would be 90 degrees, here would be negative 90 degrees. It starts like this, it goes like this. It doesn't cross 90 degrees and it doesn't cross negative 90 degrees. Okay, then starts again. Since it's every 180, right? Every 180. From 90 plus 180 will be 270. So again, since it doesn't cross the 90 degrees, it just starts again from down like this. Goes like this. It doesn't cross 270. Then after 270, another 180 would be 540, I think. 540. But I'm just showing you, yani, just so you can understand. This is how the tan function looks. It doesn't cross these asymptotes. And if you go back to negative 270, same story applies. It goes like this. Okay, this is how the tan function looks. It starts the first asymptote at 90 degrees and the second asymptote at negative 90 degrees. But since this is in pi, you can't say 90 degrees. You have to say pi over 2. Because you guys know pi is 180 degrees. Pi is always 180 degrees. Negative 90 will be negative pi over 2. That will be your asymptote. فيعني here over here at pi over 2 and the asymptote, and at negative pi over 2 I also have an asymptote. Okay, what's the next asymptote after 90 degrees? Since it's every 180 degrees, the next one will be at 270 degrees, صح? 270 degrees is 3 pi over 2. Okay, because 3 times 180 divided by 2 is 270 degrees. Okay, so there's going to be an asymptote also at 3 pi over 2. But what's the problem here? There's a point L on that asymptote. And since it's an asymptote, there can't be any point on it. So which one does not belong to the graph of y equals 3 tan x? Point L, because it's on the asymptote. Okay? Okay, here same question. Which dot does not belong to y equals 3 sine x? Okay. Look, the way I do it, صراحة, 2 sine x, okay, it's gonna look like this. It's gonna start, the highest point will be 2 and the lowest point will be minus 2. Okay, so it should start like this. It should go up all the way to 2, then come back down, then go down to negative 2, then come back here. Then again go up to 2, then go down to 0, then down to negative 2, and then go up. So you should have points at 2 and you should have points at negative 2. Not once should you have a point at, obviously you should have a point at 1, but it's like here they're putting 1 as if it's your highest point, and that's wrong. Our highest point should be a point up here at 2. For this point N, it should not belong there. Okay? Okay, this is the 4.6 quiz. But before I solve, uh, my friend شو اسمه حمزة أبو غنيم from the IP, we have to give him a shout out صراحة. لأن he deserves it, he deserves it. يعني شو اسمه he's been begging me for one for the past week, فيعني خلاص so he stopped talking. Shout out to Hamza and also Faisal from the IP, yeah. خلاص بكفي that's enough. مهم 4.6 question 1. uh, this question, it came in like almost all the AMS quizzes. uh, to be honest, the easiest way to do it for this exact one, okay, for this exact one, I think the answer was just you take 20 and you do plus 1, you get 21. That's for the people who don't want to solve. If you want to solve, okay, please know the identities. The identities are cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1, tan squared equals no, sorry, secant squared equals 1 plus tan squared, secant squared equals 1 plus tan squared, and cosecant squared, no, wait, not like this. Yeah, it was cosecant as CSC squared equals 1 plus cotangent squared. Okay, these are the three identities. Okay, if you want to know them. In this case, we're going to use secant squared equals 1 plus tan squared. So instead of secant squared, hot 1 plus tan squared minus 22 tan x, tan squared x, plus 20. Simplify it, you do 1 plus 20. It's tan squared x minus 22 tan x plus 21 because 1 plus 20. Okay, factor out the tan, so you just clean it up. It will be x squared because tan squared x, it will be x squared minus 22x plus 21. This equals 0. All of this equals 0. Okay, factor this out. Which numbers, when you add them, you get 21. So when you multiply them, you get 21. But when you add them, you get 22. It's gonna be x. So it's gonna be 21 and 1. So x minus 21, x minus 1. For your two solutions are gonna be 1, which is given, x equals 1, and 21. Okay. Yes. Okay, this question, again, every AMS, secant something equals 2, which of the following could be equal to theta, to the angle. Look, أول شيء, you're not dealing with angles, so make your calculator to radians, okay, use radians. تاني شيء, you have to test each one. But know that secant is equal to 1 over cosine, okay? So 1 over cosine angle equals 2. So how no, if you put this in a calculator, oh, so some calculators can solve this directly. We're using radians. Some calculators can solve this directly. Mine can't. Okay, so you have to actually like sort it out in a way where you get no fractions. Okay, so this will be equal to if you swap these two, you'll get, because we're trying to solve it like you make cosine theta up. You can't have it like down. You can't have it down. You're not allowed to have it down. فيعني when in chemistry when we had C equals N over V, how would you find volume if it's down? You switch volume and concentration will be V equals N over C. So similarly here, when I have 1 over cosine theta equals 2, I just switch the cosine theta and 2, so it will be 1 over 2 equals cosine theta. Okay, this is just how you solve. Then how would you find theta? You do shift cosine, right? Or shift cosine and you'll get one answer, which is pi over 3. You'll get pi over 3. But we want two answers, right? So what you have to do is you have to check each one and see if you get 1 over 2. Okay, so you do cosine pi over 3 equals 1 over 2. Is it correct? Yes. Okay, how about 2 pi over 3? If you try cosine 2 pi over 3, do you get 1 over 2? No, you don't, so you exit out. This one, cosine minus pi over 3, do you get 1 over 2? If you just can't calculate it, yes you do. The only tricky part here is know that secant is 1 over cosine, so you'll get 1 over cosine equals 2. You swap these guys, you get 1 over 2 equals cosine theta, okay, and then you just solve with this base. that you have to check each angle and see if it's equal to 1 over 2. 1 over 2 is 0.5, huh? Okay, this one is like the last one, but it's straightforward. They gave it to you, and tan something equals radical 3 over 3. Just do it, one by one, and see which one gets you radical 3 over 3 on a calculator, and use radians. Question 4, I think it's the same thing. Yeah, sine. This time use sine. Check each one. See if you get the same thing. Question 5. Okay, same exact thing, but now we're using degrees. So make sure you change your calculator to degrees. Okay. Okay, this one again, you have to use the identities, but we're working with cosine and sine. So you're going to use the identity cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. Okay. You always have to reduce the squared, the one that's squared. So we want to replace cosine squared with something, right? So in this identity, what is cosine squared equal to? You take sine squared to the other side, it will be 1 minus sine squared. Okay. So what you do is, instead of cosine squared, now we put 1 minus sine squared. So let's write it down. 1 minus sine squared x plus 24 sine x minus 24. We have 1 and minus 24. Simplify it. It will be minus sine squared x plus 24 sine x minus 23. It became minus 23 because minus 24 plus 1, huh? Okay, clean it up. Factor out your sign. And make it, this is x squared, right? Minus x squared plus 24x minus 23. How do you factor this? You have to take the minus out because you can't have negative x squared. This is just factoring. I think most of you know how to factor. Okay, you can't have the minus as the coefficient of x squared. It will be minus x squared minus 24x plus 23, and then you factor this. Which numbers, when you multiply them, you get 23. When you add them, you get 24. It will be 23 and 1. So your solutions are x equals 1 and x equals 23. Okay. Again, the way I told you for the first question works here. Just add this number plus 1 and you get 23. Okay. Okay, this question is important. Okay. Given that tan x equals minus 20 over 21 and x is obtuse, which of the following is true? Awshi, of course, we have to find x. Okay. Because they're asking for the sine and the cosine. So you actually have to find the angle now, okay? So how do you find it? If tan x is equal to minus 20 over 21, how would you find x? X would be equal to the inverse tan or shift tan of minus 20 over 21. Once you do this, you should get, I think, let me do it on my calculator. It should be 40 point something. Wait, minus 20 over 21. You get minus 43.6. Okay, you get something like this. Minus 43.6028198, whatever. Okay. But they're saying, and no, it's obtuse, yeah? If they say it's obtuse, you have to do minus 180. Okay? So you take this angle, minus 43.6, and you put minus 180. And you're going to end up with, I think, minus 223.6. You get this, something like this, okay? But with your calculator, please don't round. Okay, it's not hard. Just take this answer and put minus 180. Okay, you'll get something like this. Obviously, I'm not going to write down the whole decimal. Okay, so this is going to be your angle now. This is your angle. They're saying sine x. So you have to actually do sine of this angle here. Sine of 223.6. You don't do sine of minus 223.6. You have to do sine of the answer you got here. Otherwise, your calculator is going to give you a long decimal. Okay, so make sure, if you were to do it on a calculator, you get inverse tan of this. You get minus 43.6 something. What you do after you get this, you directly put minus 180. Okay, then you put sine of the answer. Okay, this is the only way you're going to get the correct answer. Otherwise, if you put minus 223.6, the calculator is going to give you a different answer. Okay, so just make sure you're actually working with the answer. You don't just round. Okay, don't round. You have to put the whole decimal. So you're going to get sine x equals 20 over 29. Okay, sine of the answer. When you do the sine of the answer, you're going to get 20 over 29. And then same thing for cosine. You do the same thing. You do the inverse tan, get it, then do minus 180, and then you do cosine of that number, and you're going to get minus 21 over 29. Okay? Okay, here they're saying cosine squared x equals 0.04. Which of the following must be true? They're saying I'm gonna start with sine because it's easier. Sine squared equals 0.96. Okay, remember that cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. Okay, فإذا عندك الكوساين squared is 0.04 فأكيد 0.04 plus sine squared x equals 1. How would you find sine squared x? Minus 0.04 on the other side. You get sine squared x equals 0.96. Okay, that's tan. هلا كيف بتلاقي tan equals sine over cosine. Okay, sine of the angle over the cosine. نحن the sine of the angle is 0.96 or the cosine of the angle is 0.04. You divide them and you get 24. So you're going to tell me we're working with squares. So it's the same thing because we have tan squared equals sine squared over cosine squared. So you're going to tell me, well, why don't you square it? So it's the same thing. Just cancel out all the squares and you're going to get the same equation as this. You're going to end up with the same thing. And I prefer you to use tan equals sine over cosine because it will work all the time. Well, I think this is 4.6 quiz done. So this is the 4.7 quiz. Given triangle RST and they gave you the sides and the angles. Draw it. You have RST. ST is 10 radical 3. R is 30. And T is 60. Okay, they want RS. How would you do it? Obviously, we're going to use the sine rule. You have opposite angles and sides, so we're going to use the sine rule. Okay, always start with what they're asking for. Start with what they're asking for. We have well, I said start with what's given. Let's start with what they're asking for. They're asking for RS. Okay, RS angle opposite to RS is T. For sine T. Oh, that's not a T. Sine T over RS equals, what do we have given? Sine 30. The other angle left is sine 30 over the side opposite to 30 is tan radical 3. Well, what you want to start with doesn't matter as long as you get this. That's what matters. Always have your opposite side. always have your opposite side يعني known. opposite يعني خلص. المهم solve this. Sine t يعني t is 60 فsine 60 over rs equals sine 30 over 10 radical 3. Cross multiply, you get 30. Okay. Okay, sine x degrees is 6 over k. Okay, is the whole number. Okay, المهم they want you to find sine x. Okay, start with what they want. Sine x over the side opposite to x, which is 24, equals what we have given, sine 45 over 14 radical 2. Sine 45 over 14 radical 2. I'm not really explaining the sine rule anymore because we've had it for the past 3 weeks. If you want a good explanation, it's in my week 3 math CA recording. I think week 3. Yeah, week 3. Cross multiply, you'll get sine x equals 6 over 7. They want k, which is 7. It's 7. It's k is 7. Question 3. A triangle ABC with BC equals 6, AC equals 11, and C is 60 degrees. You draw it. A, B, C. BC is 6, AC is 11, C is 60. Okay, what's the value of AB squared? If I use the cosine rule, since we have a squared, it will be AB squared equals the other two sides squared, so 11 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times the other two sides times cosine of the angle, which in this case is 60. You're gonna get AB squared equals 91. Okay. Question 4. Triangle C is 40, so here 40. Sine C is 0.5, 0.5, and sine B is 0.8. They want B. Okay, what are they asking for? B. So we start with sine B over B equals what we have given, C. Sine C over C. Substitute. Sine B is given 0.8. B we don't know, we're trying to find it. Sine C will be sine, which is 0.5 over C, which is 40. Cross B 64. Question 5. Use the values provided for the sine of each. Okay. They want AB. AB is opposite to 30, so we'll just call it C. Okay, since it's opposite to angle C, so we do sine C over C equals what we have given. We have this side given, which is opposite to B, so sine B over B. Substitute sine C will be sine 30, which is 0.5 given, over C, which we don't know, we're trying to find, equals sine B, يعني sine 37, which is given 0.6, over the side opposite to B, which is 36. Cross multiply, you get 30. Question 6. Question 6, they give you a triangle. Angle A is 60 degrees. C is 10, B is 13. They want A squared. For A squared equals cosine rule, huh? The other two sides squared, so 13 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times the other two sides, 10 times 13 times cosine of the angle, which is 60. And you get 139. They're asking for A squared, so you don't square root it. Here they're asking for cosine of A, not C, sorry. Cosine of A. If you want the angle directly, I think I gave this in my old recording. Cosine of any angle would be the side opposite to it. If I'm talking about A, it would be A squared minus the other two sides squared, so B squared minus C squared, over negative 2 times B times C. This is the formula for if you want to find the angle. Okay, if it's A, it starts with A. If it's B, it starts with B. If it's C, it starts with C. So in this case, starting with A, it's going to be A squared minus B squared minus C squared over minus 2 times the other two sides. Okay, in this case, it's going to be A squared, which is the side opposite to angle A, which is 15. So 15 squared minus other two sides squared, 18 squared minus 9 squared over minus 2 times 18 times 9. And you'll get 5 over 9 as cosine A. They want K, which is just 5. Question 8. The area of triangle ABC. Okay, you guys know the area of a triangle is half base times height, or some people say base times height over 2. This is the area of a triangle. But sometimes you don't have all three sides, and I think in next week's AMS, you guys will know all the formulas for the areas of all triangles, rhombuses, and parallelograms, because we took them in class this week. There's a lot of formulas. Okay, but for now, for this quiz, it's gonna be the area. If you have only two sides in an angle, it will be half times leg 1 times leg 2 times sine of the angle. Leg 1 and leg 2 are yani the sides, okay, and the sine of the angle will just be the angle. So in this case, it's going to be half times 20 times 22 times the sine of 37. You get 132. Question 9. C is 52. Sine C is 0.8 and sine B is 0.4. What's the value of B? It's the side opposite to it. So we want B first, so we can do sine B over B. Well, this is capital. Sine B over B equals sine C over C. Top sine B will be any sine B, which is given 0.4, over the side opposite to B we're trying to find, equals sine C 0.8 is given, over C 52. Cross multiply, you get 26. Question 10. Using the approximation, sine 35. Okay, always know the third angle. If this is 115, this is 35. Know that this angle is 30 degrees because all angles in the triangle add up to 180 degrees. Okay, what's the value of y? Y is opposite to 35. Okay, so it's going to be sine 35 over y equals, what do we have given? And we have this side given, so we take the angle opposite to it, which is 30. So sine 30 over 200. They're saying use sine 35 as 0.57. If I use 0.57 over y equals sine 30, which and I'll give it to you at 0.5. If you want it on a calculator, it's 0.5 over 200. Cross multiply, you get 228. Okay, that's it for the 4.7 quiz. So this is the 4.8 quiz. From a lighthouse, ship A is at a distance of 6 radical 5 miles and on a bearing of 40 degrees, and ship B is at a distance of 12 miles and a bearing of 310 degrees. Okay, you can just do Pythagoras theorem, 12 squared plus 6 radical 5 squared. It worked in the AMS, I remember. It works, and then you find the hypotenuse. But yani, just to understand, it's a lighthouse. You have ship A at 40 degrees. Over here's A, okay? And it's 6 radical 5 miles. And then ship B is at a distance of 12 miles and the bearing of 310 degrees. So it'll be 310. So it'll go down all the way 180, 270, 310. And over here, it's going to be like this. How do I do? 310 degrees. You have B, 12 miles. They want yani, the distance between the two ships, yani this distance over here. But this will be a right angle because here's 40, Manetta here will be 50. Okay, because 360 minus 310 is 50. So it's going to be 40, 50. So this angle is right angle. And you'll have a Pythagoras, you have a right triangle. You do Pythagoras theorem, 12 squared plus 6 radical 5 squared. And then equals c squared. Then you solve it. You get 324 equals c squared. And you get c equals 18. Okay, this is how you solve. You can do Pythagoras theorem or you can do how I did it. Okay, a car travels from a station X to a station Y, 460 meters away on a bearing of 210. The distance due west, the car okay, look, you have station X, okay? It travels, let's say, here's X, to a station Y, 460 meters away on a bearing of 210. The easiest way to solve these questions is دايما يعني draw them as lines. So this is your X, okay? Then on a bearing of 210 degrees, so it's going to go down, that's 90, 180, so something like this, okay, 210 degrees. Okay, you have station Y, and it's 460 meters. They want the distance due west. Okay, the distance due west, يعني this, you guys know north, south, east, west, right? West, يعني they want this part. Okay, so the way you do it, let me draw it better. You have X, I'll draw it bigger so you understand this X. You have 210 degrees, so يعني over here. This is 460 meters. Here's Y. This is 210 degrees. Okay, they want the distance, this distance. This is the due west. How do you find this? Okay, the way you do it is you draw a triangle like this. Okay, يعني if this angle is 210 degrees, you want to know يعني you have to find this angle over here. Okay, this angle over here, if you divide it يعني, it's going to be 60 degrees. Okay, why is it going to be 60 degrees? Because look, you know, if you look at the angles, it starts by going 90 over here, then down here it goes 180, and then over here it reaches 210, right? So if this reaches 210 over here, yani this small part is 30 degrees because it was 180, then it went to 210. That means yani it was 30 degrees over here. So okay, the rest of it will be 60 degrees. So yani you kind of have to imagine it, okay? This is going to be 60 degrees. How would you find the west? You have a triangle like this. We said this is 460 meters over here. This is 60 degrees. You want to know, let's say x. Okay, you have to use cosine. Okay, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, right? Okay, so cosine 60 equals the side adjacent, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 460. Okay, hypotenuse is the longest side, yeah, and x is the one adjacent to 60. So, and how do you find x? Cosine 60 times 460, you get 230 meters. Okay, this one, صراحة, it's a bit hard. It's not hard, yeah. You just have to like draw it. I'd see how it will be confusing for some people, but you know, try and. I don't think it will come, but don't take my word for it. But يعني it's a bit tricky. But these bearing questions like this, I think this will come. So 3 from a lighthouse. Again, you draw the lighthouse. Okay, ship A is a distance of 20 miles and a bearing of 20 degrees. Like this is A, 20 miles, and this is 20 degrees. Okay, ship B is a distance of 20 miles at a bearing of 260. So it goes 90, 180, 270, 180, yeah, 270. So it's going to be something like this. It's going to be 270 degrees. Okay, and here ship B. Again, 20 miles. Okay, they want the distance between the two ships. Okay, so distance between the two ships will be this dotted line, right? Connect A and B, it will be this dotted line. In this case, you can't use Pythagoras because you don't have a right triangle, obviously. فنحن we have a triangle that looks like this. You have A over here, you have B over here, and we want to find this distance. We know this is 20 over here, we know this is 20 over here. And how much will this angle be? This angle over here. Okay, can you find this angle? Yes, you can. If this is 270 معناتها so it's true 270. And why did I write 270? It's 260, sorry. 260. 260 degrees. If this is 260 degrees, okay, what will the rest be? The rest will be over here 100 degrees, right? This will be 100 degrees. Because if you have a circle, 260 degrees, 260 degrees, the rest will be 100 degrees, right? So this over here is 100 degrees. So can I know the full angle? Let me put it in blue. Can I know this full angle now? Yes, I can. If this is 20, this is 100, that means the full angle will be 120 degrees. Okay, هلا we want the side AB. How do you find a side when you have the other two sides and the angle in between them? Use the cosine rule, or other people might use a different rule. I don't know. So I will use the cosine rule because I have the angle and the other two sides. فI'll do AB squared. What's the cosine rule? The side squared equals other two sides squared, 20 squared plus 20 squared, minus 2 times other two sides, times cosine of the angle. So cosine 120. Okay, you're gonna get AB squared equals 400. You get AB equals 20. This is how you solve, okay? Again, similar to question 1, but this time you can't use Pythagoras. Always draw triangles, okay? It's very important to and be able to draw the triangle, okay? Question 4. Okay, you have the angle of an elevation of vertical tower T from a ship S is 17 degrees. So, again, draw this. Okay, this is the tower T. And then they have ship S, which is 400 meters east of the tower. So, yeah, 400 meters. You have S over here. Okay, and they're saying it's 17 degrees. So, yeah, this angle over here will be 17 degrees. They want the height of the tower. Okay, the height of the tower, we say h. Okay, what do you do here? Which rule do you use? Sine, cosine, or tangent? We have the opposite side and we have the adjacent side. Which one is opposite over adjacent? Tan. You know, tan is opposite over adjacent. So what do? You do tan of 17 equals the opposite, which is h, over the adjacent, which is 400. And then you cross multiply. They said tan 17 is 0.31. So 0.31 equals h over 400. Cross multiply, you get 124 meters. Okay, this one was in the AMS quiz. What is the tan of the angle between ADZY and ABCD? Okay, ADZY over here, this one, and ABCD, which is the base. Yeah, which one? Like, what's going to be the angle between? It's going to be this one over here, right? I'll put it in red. This angle. Okay, this angle, it will be, they want the tan. So the opposite, they want the opposite side, which is 8, over the adjacent side. Because, you know, tan is opposite over adjacent. Opposite, which is 8, over adjacent, which is 15. So it's going to be 8 over 15. That's it. That's literally it. So 8 over 15. Question 6. Okay, question 6. They gave you a pyramid or tetrahedron or what you want to call it. They said BC equals CD equals D equals BE. So this side equals this side, this side, this side. They're all 10. Okay, they said it's a square. And then they said these heights or whatever, these legs are all equal to each other and they're all 13. Okay, they're asking what is AN? Part A. What is AN? So this over here. Okay, obviously this is right. Okay, how do you find it? You have to use Pythagoras theorem. Okay, AE we said it's 13 given. Okay, EN, they said N is the midpoint. So if this ED is 10, that means here's going to be 5, here's 5 because it's the midpoint. So how would you find it? You do 13 squared equals 5 squared plus A squared. Okay, you take 13 squared minus 5 squared equals A squared. You get A squared equals 144 and you get A is 12. Okay, part B, the area of AED. AED, this is it. It's a triangle. You know, the triangle is base times height over 2. The base is ED, which is 10. The height, please don't put 13. The height is the perpendicular. The height has to be perpendicular. Okay, You can't take AD because it's not perpendicular. So you have to take AN, which we found was 12. So it'll be 12 times 10 over 2, which is 60. Okay. Part C, the total surface area of the pyramid is equal to 340. Okay, these triangles are all equal, obviously. So it's going to be 60 here, 60 here, 60 here, and 60 here. What's left is going to be the base at the bottom, right? Which is 10 by 10. How would you find the area of a 10 by 10 square? 10 here, 10 here, 10 times 10, you get 100. So you have 60, 60, 60, 60, and 100 at the bottom. The total surface area will be 240 plus 100, which is 340. Okay, the last one, the cosine of the angle between EAD and BAC. EAD is going to be this blue one over here, and BAC will be, I'll put it as the red one over here. Okay, you want the angle in between them. So the angle in between them, yeah, you have to imagine it. Okay, it's going to be like this angle in between the pyramids, like over here. Okay, how would you do it? It's gonna be this one over here. So it's gonna look like this. It's gonna be like this. Okay, something like if you twist the pyramid and look at it from the side, it's gonna be like this angle at the top over here. Okay, but this angle at the top between the two pyramids, what's gonna be the length of it? So let me use green. If you It's gonna be over here, AN, and then down over to here. This is the base in the middle. This green triangle would be the one that has the angle in between them, if you get what I mean. Yani, let me draw this one more time. I'll draw EAD in red, okay, and BAC in blue. The angle in between them, the angle in between any two planes should have at least one right angle. So for the people who are taking yani, this green angle over here on the side, that's wrong, because there's no right yani. There's nothing that's perpendicular. So you can't take it. So you have to take the ones that are perpendicular. What are perpendicular? AN, and obviously on the other side it's also going to be perpendicular. Here you have perpendicular, here you have perpendicular. Join it, and this green angle in the middle will be the angle in between both planes. If I look at it like this, look at the green triangle. This is the same as the green triangle. The base obviously will be 10 because it's a square, right? We said the bases are 10. Okay, the sides are gonna be 12 and 12. Why 12 and 12? We found it. AN is 12, and obviously the other one is also gonna be 12. Okay, how would you find the cosine of this angle? Use the cosine rule. Remember, when you want the cosine of the angle, it's the side opposite to it, so 10 squared, minus the other two sides squared, over minus 2 times the other two sides. Okay, you're gonna get the cosine of the angle is 47 over 72. Okay, I know part D is a bit complicated, but yeah, this is how you solve it. Okay, question 7. The bearing of P from O is 33 degrees. How? Here's P. Okay, this is P. The bearing is always starting from the north. Okay, so the bearing is always going to be this part. You don't take this part, no. It's always starting from the north, from the top. So if I have a bearing of 50, it's going to look like this, 50. Not 50 down, no, it has to be up. So the bearing will always be the angle between the north and the object. So it's going to be this one. How do you find this? You just do 90 minus 57 equals 33. ولike this نكون خلصنا 4.8 وهلا التوب questions. Okay, we have two top questions included in the material. 4.5 question 21 and 4.8 question 40. This is question 21, 4.5, and I have the solution on the side. Okay, I'm gonna cut this. Most likely one of these will come. You Our previous geometry periodics, the written, and حتى the final, the written came from the top question. Algebra periodics also the written came from the top question. Physics, the written came from the top question. But please do the top question. Okay, here this is the graph of y equals cosine x. Okay, they're saying part A, solve the equation 5 cosine x equals 1 for whatever, yani 5 cosine x equals 1. How do you solve 5 cosine x equals 1? Okay, the first thing you have to do, you have to get rid of this 5. So divide by 5 on both sides. You'll get cosine x equals 1 over 5, which is 0.2. How do you find x? You do shift cosine or inverse cosine. So this is what you write. If you write this and you get like, let me do it on my calculator, inverse cosine of 0.2, it should be 78.46. Let me check the solution. 78 point, they want one decimal place. Yeah, they want one decimal place. So on the calculator, you're gonna get 78.46. Okay, they want one decimal place, so it will be x equals 78.5. Make sure to put degrees. Okay, put degrees. Okay, if you write this, you'll get full. Okay, yani it's that easy. Part B, on the same grid, sketch the graph of y equals sine x. Okay, to graph anything for the sine or tan or cosine, okay, it's the easiest thing to do, and I teach you my way. The first thing you do, you write 90, 180, 270, and 360. Okay, so make sure these are equally spaced. And you don't write 90, then 180 like this. No, try and keep the spacing a bit even, if you know what I mean. So what you do is, let's say I'm graphing y equals sine x. Okay, since a is 1, remember we had y equals a sine x plus sine bx. A would be the height. Since I don't have any number here, then the height will be 1, and the height will, lowest point will be -1. This is how you draw. Okay, this is the first thing you do. If I'm graphing y equals sine x, I have to check what is sine 90, what is sine 180, what's sine 270, what's sine 360. Some of you know it, some of you don't know it. You can do it on a calculator. Sine 90, 1. Sine 180, it's 0. Sine 270, it's -1. With sine 360, here it's 0. So at sine 90, I'll have 1. Sine 180, I'll have 0. Sine 270, I'll have -1. Sine 360, it will be 0. And obviously at 0, we start at 0 because sine 0 is 0. Okay, sine 0 is 0. This is how you graph. You go up, then back down. Oh, that's not good. Okay, make it smooth, please. You go up, then back down, then back up. If you have this, you get 100. Okay, so in this case, let's put it. We have at 90, we have 1. 180 is 0. At 270, it's -1. At 360, it's 0. So let's do it. You go up to 90, down, like this, and like this. Okay, something like this. If you write this, you get correct. Okay, that's it. Like that's it for 21. It's very easy. هلا في I think, yeah, question 40. Top question 40, page 48. Okay, you have a triangle. Okay, two triangles actually. The length of AC is k centimeters. We don't know it. We want to use the cosine rule in triangle ABC to show that k squared minus 8k minus 161 equals 0. مهم, use the cosine rule. How do we use the cosine rule given this angle here? The cosine rule. Okay, you're gonna say, which side do I use? Always use the side that's opposite to the angle. Okay, always use the side that's opposite to the angle. Now, what do we have? We have this angle 60. What's opposite to it? 15. So what do? We do 15 squared. Okay, equals the other two sides squared. K squared plus 8 squared minus 2 times the other two sides. 8 times k times cosine of the angle, in this case 60. Simplified, 15 squared to 25 equals k squared plus 8 squared, 64, minus 2 times 8 times k is minus 16k. Cosine, sorry, hold up, times again cosine 60, sorry. Minus 2 times 8 times k times cosine 60 will be, cosine 60 is, I think, what's cosine 60? Cosine 60, it's 0.5. Okay, so it's gonna be minus 2 times 8 times k times 0.5. Simplify this, you get minus 8k, because minus 2 times 8 is 16. Minus 16 times 0.5 is minus 8 again, times k is minus 8k. If I simplify this more, k squared plus 64, you have 225 here. Okay, put everything in one side, put everything to one side, so take 225 to the other side. Yani. K squared plus 64 minus 8k minus 225. Let's simplify it. 64 minus 225, you get k squared. Put k beside it. Put the k beside the k squared minus 8k, and 64 minus 225 is, I think, minus 161. So minus 161, and if you see, we got the same answer. So if you write this, you'll get full. Okay, it's just solving, applying the cosine rule. Okay, that's it. So part A, easy. Solve the equation k squared minus 8k minus 161 equals 0. طيب, This is a quadratic equation. How do you solve a quadratic equation? Use the quadratic formula minus b plus minus radical b squared minus 4ac over 2a. If you put it in your calculator and get the two answers, you're gonna get it wrong. I'm telling you from now. They're saying show all your work. So you have to solve this on paper. How do you find remember, how do you solve quadratic equations? The easiest way is always you find your discriminant. They call it delta, or the triangle, or whatever, and I call it delta. Discriminant delta. I denote it by writing a triangle, which is b squared minus 4ac. How do we do it? This is the easiest way for solving quadratics. Always find your discriminant first. B squared يعني minus 8 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is minus 161. Put this on a calculator, you'll get 64 minus 4 times minus 161. You get 708. So delta equals 708. So what will our quadratic be? Minus b plus minus radical 708 over 2a. Hello, we can solve way easier. Substitute. Minus b will be minus 8, right? Minus 8 plus minus radical 708 over 2a. So 2 times 1, which is obviously 2. So let's simplify this more. Minus 8 is 8, positive. Plus minus radical 708 over 2. Then you solve this on a calculator. Well, you'll have two solutions, right? One positive, one negative. So you'll have one solution, which is 8 plus radical 708 over 2. And the second solution, 8 minus radical 708 over 2. The first solution you'll get, using the positive one, it will be, let me do it on my calculator, 8 plus radical 708 over 2. I get 4 plus radical 177. This is the exact answer. And x2 is going to be, I think, minus, it should be minus. Yeah, 4 minus radical 177. But Sydney, what do they want it as a decimal? Okay, so you have to solve this even more. Simplify it on a calculator. What is 4 plus radical 177 as a decimal? It's 17 point. Let me put it in red. It's 17.304. And this is going to be, I think, minus 17.304. It's minus 9.304. Okay, they want one decimal place, so this will be 17.3, and this will be minus 9.3. But we have two solutions, okay? And we're talking about a side length in a triangle. Can a side ever be negative? Can it ever be negative? It can't. So you reject this answer. So you're left with only one solution, which is 17.3. And let's check the answer. Is it correct? Part B, 17.3. Okay, you see minus 9.3 is rejected. Okay, you have to show that it's rejected. You have to say minus 9.3 is rejected. Okay, show your work, show everything, show all your steps. So the person correcting doesn't mix up. So you'll get 17.3 is your answer because minus 9.3 is rejected. Okay, part C, so let's put this as 17.3. Use the sine rule to calculate the length of CD. CD, they want here. CD, which is opposite to angle A, so we'll write it as A. Okay, so always they want the sine rule, so you have to always start with what you want. So since we want side A, sine A over A equals. Now, what side do we have given? We have this 17.3, which is opposite to D. So sine D over D. How do we simplify it? Sine A will be sine 77. Over side A, we don't know it. We're trying to find it. Equals sine D, so sine 63. Over D, the side opposite to D, 17.3. Okay, solve this. I think, and I didn't solve it yet. 17.3 sine 77. Okay, divided by sine 63. You should get 18.918. Let me check if this is correct. 18.9. They want it to, yeah, they want everything in one decimal place. You get equals 18.918. We want it to one decimal place, so it will be 18.9. Okay, so CD is 18.9 centimeters. Compute the area of quadrilateral ABCD. What does this mean? Now we got this is 17.3. We got this is 18.9. How do you find the area of the quadrilateral ABCD? Okay, this isn't a proper square or rhombus or parallelogram, so you can't find the area. So how do you find the area? You have to find the area of this triangle and then the area of this bottom triangle. I'll draw it in blue. Well, you add them up, okay? How do you do it? Uh, let's look. The first triangle at the top, okay? Since يعني I gave you, it was in one of the quizzes, the area of a triangle if you have angles on the side. For now, the easiest one is the two sides, leg 1 times leg 2 over 2 times the sine of the angle between them. Sine of the angle. Okay, so the area of the first triangle, you can use, we have which angle? 60. What are the legs surrounding 60? 17.3 and 8. So the area of triangle 1 is leg 1 times leg 2. 8 times 17.3 over 2 times sine 60. Because the area of a triangle can be leg 1 times leg 2 divided by 2 times the sine of the angle between them. Okay? Or if you want, just half times leg 1 times leg 2 times sine of the angle. These both work. Okay, they're the same thing. Whatever you prefer. This was, I think, in the 4.7 recording or 4.8. I forgot. 4.7 in the 4.7 quiz. So you're gonna get, this is the area of triangle 1. How about area of triangle 2? Okay, it's gonna be leg 1 times leg 2. Now, which two sides do we have for triangle 2? We have this 17.3 and 18.9. So 17.3 times 18.9 divided by 2 times the sine of the angle between them. What's the sine of the angle between them? Sine 40, because 40 is in between these two sides. Sine 40. Okay, so you put them in a calculator. You're gonna get, this is equal to, let me do it. 8 times 17.3 divided by 2 times sine 60, it's 59.9, one decimal place, and this is going to be 17.3 times 18.9 divided by 2 times sine 40, it's going to be 105.1. So how would you find the total area? You just add these two and you get the area equals 105.1 plus 59.9. Okay, you'll get the area is 165. Since we're talking about centimeters, so it will be centimeter square. Please put the unit. I don't think it's really that important, but yani, our math teacher said you have to. Okay, that's it. I think. Yeah, that's it. Good luck to everybody in the periodic. It's really not that hard. Inshallah, you guys do well. Thank you for watching. Bye. Bye.